So you wanna be a picture book writer, then you gotta write picture books. And you're gonna need a bucket load of bright ideas for titles, plots, and hooks. If you're partial to prose or you're raring to rhyme, then repeat after me. It's a challenge, but I'm gonna tackle each story 1 month at a time with 12 by 12.
Sounds good. Thank you so much, Julie. Thank you for having me. I have been with 12 by 12 since 2018 because I missed the sign up in 2017. You have to sign up at the beginning of the year. So if you're not a member, mark your calendar so you don't make a mistake like I did. Very excited to be here to talk about my 5th picture book, The Quiet Forest. There might be a surprise announcement about a follow-up, so I hope you enjoy it and check that one out too. Today I'm going to read The Quiet Forest. All right, so here we go. Abby Cushman did an incredible job with these illustrations. So The Quiet Forest is written by me, Charlotte Offsay, illustrated by Abby Cushman, and here we go. Deep in the woods, a mouse wanders alone, a mischievous mouse in a quiet, nothing-to-do forest, until splat, thump. A mischievous mouse and a rattled rabbit in a suddenly not-so-quiet forest, and all of the rabbits thumping. Disturbs a beaver, thump, splash. A mischievous mouse, a rattled rabbit, and a bothered beaver in a no longer quiet but slightly noisy forest, and all of the beavers splashing. Soaks a deer, splash, spring. A mischievous mouse, a rattled rabbit, a bothered beaver, and a drenched deer in an increasingly noisy forest, and all of the deer springing. Bumps a moose. Spring, grunt. A mischievous mouse, a rattled rabbit, a bothered beaver, a drenched deer, and a miserable moose in a seriously noisy forest, and all of the mooses grunting. Angers a bear, grunt, grr. A mischievous mouse, a rattled rabbit, a bothered beaver, a drenched deer, a miserable moose, and a bellowing bear in an oh dear, this is loud forest, and all of the bears growling. Awakens her cub, who bolts from the warm, cozy den out into the oh dear, this is loud forest, and sees a bellowing bear, a miserable moose, a drenched deer, a bothered beaver, a rattled rabbit, and a mischievous mouse having a very loud day indeed.
I love it. It's so cute.
You.
This is one of those books that on the surface seems simple, right? Like because it's the mark of great writing where it just there's a great rhythm and it's cumulative and then kind of reverse cumulative. But there's a lot of work that goes into making a book that reads as though it required no effort to write. You know what I mean? And so tell us about that. Like, because guessing it was hard.
No, complete brain teaser, and there were a lot of headaches.
Yeah.
I decided I really wanted to write a cumulative picture book. And this book was inspired by my kids during COVID, and my son, bless him, can set off a very mischievous, very loud day when he wanted to, and my daughter could take a beat and turn it around. So that's where this story came from. And I thought a fun way to do it was showing how kindness could spread instead through a cumulative structure. I actually participated in Storystorm and read about cumulative structures and decided to give it a go. And yes, it was a lot harder. I studied all the mentor texts. I pulled out the mess that they made and all the classic books, tried to mirror the structure, and I got stuck. And I ended up having to add in more layers and pull in the onomatopoeia later, and the alliteration came later, but the biggest headache for me was kind of getting that structure down, and I ended up taking a workshop with an editor, the one who actually acquired this book, and she helped me figure out how to reverse it on the flip side. So I'm glad it looks easy because it wasn't.
Yeah, like it's sort of like with rhyme when it's done really well, especially if it's a simple rhyme. The people have no idea the amount of agony that goes into it. And then if you change one thing, and like you said, interesting that you mentioned adding layers, because in my little preview, I talked we have a guide, a 12 by 12 guide to layers and picture books.
Which I use for this to add the heart and to add the layers. And I have taken that and I highly recommend people going to find it because it's very helpful.
Yeah. So talk about how you do that. Like, I'm assuming it happens more, for me, it happens more in the revision process, right? Like, and so when you're thinking about layers, how do you then go back through the manuscript? Can you give us some examples in this story?
Sure. So for this story, actually for most of my books, it's really about just getting something, anything down on paper to work with. And sometimes it's the beginning and sometimes it's the middle and sometimes it's a phrase and then just expanding out from there. But with this particular book, it was really about getting the structure right. So I had an ant opening this book in the beginning. There was a monkey at one point, but really just getting the structure of being able to build up and then come back down. And that was goal number one. And once I had that, I then switched it to all forest animals. I wanted to be able to have this be very realistic and have animals all be able to exist in the same place. Of course, Abby's illustrations are so much fun and made me giggle out loud for how hard I tried to make all the animals that go from a mouse all the way through to a bear and increase in size and all be able to live together. And then I got the moose painting and I just laughed and I just love it so much and it makes it so special. But for me, I was trying to make sure that that all worked and those animals came through before I added those layers. So then as you talk about in your webinar and so many other things that I've taken with you, it's really about going back and saying, okay, where can I add in the fun? So for me, that came with sound words and alliteration. I think those are so much fun in read-alouds and I wanted to go back and layer them in. And then you think about heart and it's like, okay, well, where can I make people care about this character? How do I make them invested and want to keep turning the page? And it's, with a story like this, it's a mischievous, relatable character. But, with some of my other books that might be making sure it's an emotion the reader can connect with or that they deeply invest and care about that character, because if they don't care, they're not going to keep turning the page, and then carrying each of those threads through the whole story, but also making sure that you need those threads, because if you don't need those words, they have to be cut. Anyways, you guys should all go take that webinar because it's great. But
thank you.
Do it together so never you fear. It's a handy little way to help you kick into gear. You're amazing, exciting, look out, 'cause you're writing 12 by 12.
12 manuscripts.
12 by 12.
12 picture books.
12 by 12.